Hey everybody, and welcome to week number 11 of EDU6100. As I said in my email over the weekend, there's not a whole lot of stuff you got to do this week, but a lot of preparation for upcoming weeks. And so I wanted to come to you with a video to do a couple things. Number one, I want to go over the current and upcoming assignments. Number two, I want to go over the chapters and the texts that have been covered recently, so we got to kind of keep up with that piece. And each week from now till the end of the course, I'll be giving you more information about the chapters. Don't forget, final exam coming up, very similar format to what we did on the midterm. I also saw your John Hattie papers in there, and my goal the next couple of days is to start grading those. I didn't get a chance to look at them yet, but I'm going to look at them tonight, tomorrow, and so on. So we'll get that taken care of as well. So first of all, this week on week 11, you're reading full in chapter 5, and you're also going to be viewing the video that's in the portal. Those are the two things for this week, but you're really looking ahead to next week, week 12, which is Leithwood Chapter 8, the Module 5 discussion forum. Don't forget, we have 2 people that week for the discussion forum next week. Luke's going to post our original. Kathy and Melissa are going to respond, and then Lise is going to respond to all 3 posts. So a little bit different for the one next week. I'll remind you again in my video for week 12. And then last but not least, it's the WCG number 5 assignment, which is the high-performing school analysis presentation. Now let me start with that assignment, and you can find information about it on page 7 of your syllabus, page 7 of the syllabus. And it talks about looking back at the research from assignment 3 and prioritizing strategies and techniques that are applicable to your own school setting. So it's using the research you did from the John Hattie research piece. And you can also use stuff you done in assignment number 4, which is the high-performing school research piece. And you're going to apply this stuff to your piece. You're going to do a presentation. Now, here's how it's going to work. I have 2 dates that were the most popular. Again, not everybody voted on it, but I've got Wednesday, April 10th, 8 p.m., and Sunday, April 14th, and that is at 7 p.m. So I'm going to put those on my calendar. I will also put them in an email to you guys as the dates we're going to do the presentation. You're going to have about 15 minutes to present to us and talk about what you did. There is a screen sharing feature of Zoom. I will show you how to use that very, very quickly, and you'll be able to show us your research, or I can show it, and we can do it either way, whatever works for you guys to make it comfortable. But I'd like all of us to be there so you can hear what everybody else has to say. Do make sure that the bullet points that are listed on page 7 of the syllabus, the examples of research-based practices, the critical thinking and problem-solving techniques, the analyzing and evaluating decisions made by administration, examples of strategies to promote distribution of leadership, and methods for utilizing appropriate technology for parent, student, teacher communication are all included in your presentation. You want to have all this information. So unlike what we did in EDU6200, this past fall, where you just sent me the information, I graded them, I want you guys to actually present this to each other, and we'll try to do that in the Zoom format. The only way we can do this, and I'm not sure if I want to entertain it, is have you guys record your own video and present it online, but I want to try and do it face-to-face, at least through video Zoom, on the 10th and 14th of April. So more on that to come. Also, don't forget that there is always a rubric for you for the WCG assignments that very clearly shows the information. Part of your grade is the presentation. The majority of your grade is actually doing the assignment based on that rubric. If you have questions about it, want to send it to me ahead of time, don't hesitate. You should post your assignment in chalk and wire. Post it in chalk and wire by April 1. Do not wait for the presentation to post it. You want to post it ahead of time, and then during the presentations, you'll show us what you've done. So that's the assignments for the next couple of weeks. Also be thinking down the line about your last WCG assignment number 6, which is due on April the 15th. All right, the important stuff now is all about content and what this next upcoming weeks are all about. So I want to start first with the Leading School Turnaround book, which is the Leithwood book. And so far in the last couple of weeks, you guys have read, let's see, you guys have done Chapter 6 before the midterm and Chapter 7 this past week. So let me take some time to go over those two. And then I'll also go over Chapters 4 and 5 in the Fulham book, which have been done recently. And then in next week's video, I'll focus on Chapter 8 of the Leithwood book. We'll come back to that one. All right, so first of all, Chapter 6, how turnaround leaders redesign their schools. Really important stuff, really important topics here. And this chapter talks about two different things. They always give you the practices, then they give you by the numbers. So what I like most about the practices is it talks about how you as a leader nurture others. You nurture others through development of things like norms and values. You encourage your staff to work together collaboratively, and you get everybody on the same page. You nurture that leadership. It's not just something like, well, here, go do this. You have this nurturing piece. One of the things that they talk about is how you restructure schools so teacher collaboration is not only possible, but likely. In other words, you make sure people have common planning time, opportunities to meet together, and things along those lines. Looking at the effect of family environments, looking at how we include families in what we do and how we try to invite them. The school I'm working at right now is working on ways to invite more families out. And last but not least, connecting to the wider environment, not just the community, partners in the business world, and feeder patterns. So if you're in elementary school, it'll be the middle school and eventual high school. If you're the middle school, it'll be the feeder elementary, eventual high school, and so on and so forth. Those things are really, really important in doing that. Make sure you focus on those key points. On the by the numbers, it talks about the fact that we distribute leadership a whole lot better in secondary and elementary schools. It could be the fact they're so much bigger, but we need to make sure that we do distribute leadership to other people. There are some teachers who will be on your staff who want nothing more than be a leader, a teacher leader. They don't want to be an administrator. They don't want to leave the classroom, but they want to be a teacher leader, which is something you can help them do. Talks about teachers' perceptions and resources and making sure teachers have what they need to be successful. That is huge, especially when it comes to a positive academic program. One of the neat things they talk about towards the end of the chapter is the fact that good leaders are able to modify the way that the organization works while strengthening school culture at the same time, not breaking things apart. So those are some important pieces out of Chapter 6. Chapter 7 talks about improving the instructional program and focus on instruction. And one of the things here I think you need to focus on is monitoring, looking at evidence, and using that evidence, but don't overanalyze data. Now, I think all of you are going to be with me this summer in EDU6550 during summer 2. We're going to talk a lot about data in that course. We're going to do some data chats in that course through Zoom like we did with the law class. But one of the key things is data for data's sake is not useful. We've got to have data that can help us, and they talk about that in the chapter. One thing you as leader must do is buffer staff from distractions with the work with students. We have to make sure that teachers' sole focus is what they do with their students, and we remove all the other nonsense around it. It's very hard, very difficult to do, and only the best leaders can. We do that by providing many types of support to teachers. We provide all kinds of formal professional development opportunities at the school, away from the school, during the school day, after the school day, and so on and so forth. The last thing they focus on in this chapter is looking at those numbers pieces and how instructional programs are performing and how principals manage that piece. And the chapter is very clear that talks about we look at various sources of data. We look at different ways that we manage instructional programs based on what we're doing, where we're at, and where we're going. For example, right now in many of our elementary schools, our low-performing ones, we're focusing a lot on 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. We're not neglecting kindergarten for a second, but obviously they're not tested. And so we're focusing a lot more resources where we're going to see the results on our testing scores, and you're going to see that happen as well. So good stuff in that Leithwood book for you. Over in the other text, in the Fulham book, let me pull that up real quick. I said it was chapters 4 and 5 is what you focus on. Chapters 4 and 5. I apologize, guys. Having a little brain piece there because obviously I'm on spring break. Chapter 4 talks about multiplying capacity and winning. That's the big piece about chapter 4 in the Fulham book. And he talks about collaboration and collaborative competition. It's all about us focusing together on the big piece of the puzzle where we want to go to. And I think about this with a video I saw recently, a video we use in our PLC training. It's by Dufour, D-U-F-O-U-R, Dufour. And he talks about a group versus a team. Uses a great analogy. Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan, obviously two of the best athletes of all time in their sports, right? Well, Tiger Woods goes out on the golf course. He plays with 3 other guys, and he's in a group. This is what Dufour says. He's in a group because he can win despite how those guys play. Those guys can all play crappy. They could be 20-something strokes over par, and so be it. Tiger was 12 strokes under par, and he wins. He's in a group. Michael Jordan played on a team, and as you know from his history, he got drafted in 1984 and did not win a championship until 1991. And he won that championship because he finally had a team. And as a team, they worked together. He could not do things on his own, even though he at times was the best offensive and defensive player in the league. He had to have a team around him. And so this chapter focuses a lot on collaborative cultures, focusing together on a small number of goals, collective capacity building in your school, of you helping others build their leadership capacity. It ties right in the chapters we just talked about in the full and text. The last thing I want you to think about is those action implications towards the end of the chapter. He talks about a commitment to high levels of learning for all students, commitment to collaborative culture, and a commitment to using results to foster continuous improvement. All those things come out of what we have to do as educators. We're always looking to get better. We're never satisfied with where we're at. We want to continually improve. Chapter 5 is a very, very short chapter. Talks about learning and learning confidently. And this piece has 4 key pieces you can read about, and I love their titles. Number 1, use your brain. Obviously, it's a very obvious piece, but when you read it, it's really neat because it ties into number 2 about cultivating a growth mindset in yourself and others. Not a fixed mindset, but a growth mindset. How can we get better? How can we do things differently to improve the overall processes that we function? The third one, be indispensable in the right way. In other words, don't be indispensable that if they lose you, they're going to fall apart, but that you provide a positive contribution to what's going on. And last but not least, maintain a high level of confidence. The day before spring break for our schools, my kids took a math test. One of the units that we're working on, my neighbor, same thing, and not one of our kids did what we expected them to do. And we said, you know what? We're going to come back to spring break. We're going to keep working, moving in the positive direction. That is the important piece, that we always find ways to build on what we've done. So again, to wrap up this video, guys, because it's going on almost 13 minutes now, week number 11, very simple. You're reading chapter 5 full. I just talked about a great read, by the way. Watch the video in the portal and be working on your WCG number 5 High Performing Schools Analysis presentation. I'll be back later in the week with some reminders, and again next Monday or Tuesday with some updates for the following week. And again, those dates are April 10th and April 14th, and I'm going to email them out to you all as well so you have that information. You guys have a great night and a great rest of the week. I'll talk to you soon.